Good evening, everyone. This is Pineleaf Needles, and welcome to DDO Players News, where we take a look at the latest news in DDO and here at DDO Players. And please welcome my host from Ravenloft, Draculetta.
Greetings, everybody, which I am preferring to call it Antarctica right now because it's 6 degrees and -10 with the wind chill, so it's downright cold here.
It is cold there. Is Ravenloft in the mountains anywhere?
Apparently now it is, yes, because there's snow and it's cold and it's horrible and I want it to go away.
All right. I heard a rumor that you're sending some of that stuff down my way tomorrow.
Hey, you can have it all.
Well, I just hope that whatever it is, it goes away before a special event I have scheduled for this weekend. But we need to go talk about DDO, and so let's go into our game news. And our only real news is that there will be downtime 8:30 a.m. to 10 o'clock a.m. U.S. Eastern Time on Tuesday, January 6th, which is tomorrow from the time we are broadcasting the live event, where they'll be taking down the servers for some maintenance. And we are hoping that's to fix some lag that was on the system recently.
Yeah, there was this weekend. It was hit or miss. It was I have heard other people say they've had lag, and I haven't really noticed any lag. But boy, this weekend I noticed some lag. And also, I had problems logging in. At one point, I couldn't even log on. It was getting stuck at the login screen, or I would get in and then I would get kicked out right away. So hopefully, that is going to solve all those problems. Sounds like they're just going to do a total hard reset. They're going to take everything down and reboot everything, which takes a long time to do. But that should improve our quality of life vastly, we hope.
We hope. Maybe they have to replace some of the hamsters.
They might. They might need some more cheese, or maybe give us some crackers or something. Give them a little encouragement to, run a little faster and stay running.
All right, then. And speaking of little encouragements, is there anything encouraging in the store sales?
Well, there happens to be an item where you can use with your friends. Everybody needs friends, and everybody needs their friends to be with them in dungeons. So you can get yourself a free bracelet of friends. You get one of those if you use coupon code FRND31. Once again, use that coupon code FRND31. A little word of note about the Bracelet of Friends. You cannot use it inside of a dungeon or a wilderness area. So make sure you use it like if you're at the entrance to something, and don't try to use it inside because you can't bring them inside with you. But it works great if you're outside, like if they're in a different part of the world and you're in a dungeon getting ready to do it and you want some help, you can teleport them right to you if you're outside of that dungeon.
Now, when I was looking at the item, it looked like that even though you only get one of them, that it has 10 charges in it.
Oh, does it?
At least that was the impression I got when I looked, because it's either that or I was looking at it wrong.
I'll have to look. I haven't actually looked at it in the store. I think I have one from last time. It was a free sample. I'll have to check.
All right. We'll have to see about that.
Also in the store, 20% off Slayer Count Boost, Jewels of Fortune, the Shared Bank, the Platinum Vault, the Bag Deposit Box, and upgrades. They are on sale for 20% off until the 8th.
All right. Very well, then. And that concludes our game news. So let's go into the site news. And what is our screenshot of the week?
Well, the screenshot of the week, number 2 screenshot for us, is actually one that I took because we still haven't had anybody send one in. If you have a cool screenshot you have taken, feel free to send that in, and you too can be featured on our site. Send that to podcast@ddoplayers.com. Podcast@ddoplayers.com. It's basically what I called a haunting moon and a pirate ship. If you look at the screenshot, it's kind of spooky, cloudy night, ship, and a big, giant full moon in the background.
So it's a bit of a ghost ship?
It could be. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't done the quest that I was in. And that was actually taken in the, I'm going to have to look at my show notes to see what I did this week. Because I did so much, I can't remember what quest that was. can't remember what it was. I'll get back with you on that because I can't. For some reason, I'm looking at my week and it looks like half of my week got taken off the show notes. So I'll have to fix that.
All right, then. Yeah, I'm looking. Yes, the Bracelet of Friends has 10 charges, just so I looked it up on my character. All right, so let us then go into the news beyond DDO. And the Escapist names Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition Best Tabletop Role-Playing Game of 2014. And based on what I hear, it wasn't much of a contest. And...
Oh, sorry, I had myself muted. It probably works better if I'm not muted, huh?
yeah.
The Firefly role-playing game, the Strange, and D&D 5th Edition were the 3 games that were up for the role-playing game of the year. And as you said, it went to Dungeons & Dragons 5th Edition. The Escapist says, no surprise here, there simply weren't too many games willing to go up against the 500-pound gorilla tabletop gaming, also known as Dungeons & Dragons.
Right.
And overall, 5e has been received really, really well. I know from some of the things that Wizards had said, the sales of it had even outpaced their expectations of what it was. They had to do a bunch of reprints on all 3 of the core books faster than what they were expecting. So it seems like everybody likes 5e, which is well-deserved because it's a really well-done system, and it kind of harkens back to the old days of D&D. It's what D&D was and should be. Other than basically a board game like what 4E was, which we won't talk about 4E. That was,
We try to forget about 4E.
That's right. That was a nightmare that we shall forget about.
Yes, that's right. No one talks about 4E. I also heard that no one talks about Fight Club, or is that a myth?
That is not a myth. That is the first rule of Fight Club. You are correct. You don't talk about the iOS app called D20 Fight Club, which is the oddest name for an app, especially a Dungeons & Dragons app. But what are you going to do? That's what they called it. It's called D20 Fight Club. There's 2 versions. There's a Player's Edition and a Dungeon Master's Edition. Basically what it is, you can keep track of all your necessary numbers, your hit points, your experience, your spell slots, etc. You also get access at the tip of your fingers to your defenses, your saves, your abilities, your character sheets. A spell book will let you quickly pull up spells and mark your prepared ones. Your weapons, your armor, and your gear as well. And you can even do your dice rolls for everything right on the app. So if you show up to the table and you think, oh crap, I don't have my dice. Now you do. It's right at the tip of your fingers in this app. The Dungeon Masters Edition, of course, has a bunch of extra things, which you would think so for the DM, because there's a lot of things the DMs have to keep track of. There's an encounter manager. You can track initiative, hit points, and all the stats for the monsters and the player characters. You can do all of your rolls in there as well. That includes all attack rolls, skill rolls, and any saving throws that your monsters have to do against your players. There's also, from the Dungeon Masters Basic Rules, which was the free edition that was out, there's some of the monsters from there that is included. So I kind of glanced at it, and it looked like there's quite a few monsters in there. So if you, for some reason, wouldn't have the monster manual, you could design an adventure around just the monsters that are in the app and use it. Basically, it's a pretty neat little thing. Both of those are free to try. They're very limited on the free version. And if you like them, you can unlock the full potential of the app for $2.99, which actually isn't bad because I have looked at other Dungeons & Dragons type apps like this, and there are some really expensive apps in the App Store. So $2.99 is a pretty decent price. And just from what little I played with them, they both seem like they're pretty decent little things, and they would come in handy to have. If your DM will allow them, because there's a lot of DMs that don't allow phones or tablets or anything at the table because they can prove to be a distraction.
Now, of course, my real question to you is, will you trust an app to do your die rolls?
I thought about that. I don't I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air about that. I don't know if I would or not. I
Because
think,
it requires a pseudo number and random number generator,
yeah,
and I
yeah,
know that pseudo random number generators don't like you.
yeah, and I don't know. And there's just something about having the feel of the dice in your hands. You know what I mean? Too. It's just like
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if I'd use it for the dice rolls or not, but pretty sweet app nonetheless.
All right, then. Then let's go about what we did this week in DDO, and it looks like you did quite a number of things. You were a busy bee.
Well, I was, and I was even busier than what the show notes say I was too. I can't figure out what happened to the rest of what I did. I'm trying to see if there's another version of this show notes that got deleted. I tell you what, why don't you go first, and I'm going to try to figure out what happened to the show notes, because it looks like there's some other stuff missing up here, too.
Ooh, are you sure you're just not seeing what's on the next page or something?
I'm looking, and
Okay.
I did more than what's here, so...
All right. We'll begin with my artificer, who, of course, went with the Ranger Rogue that Draculetta has, and we decided to do some quests in the Red Fens to finish that off, where we did Fathom the Deeps and Into the Deeps, so the last pair for that little series. And at the end of that, we reached level 10. And we did spend a little bit of time underwater, if I remember correctly, during that fun little exercise.
Yes, we did. That is a bizarre little quest if you have never ran that quest before.
And my barbarian, who is going through the beginning areas, I did the rest of Korthos Island, so therefore ran the Canaan's Crystal, then the Collaborator, Redemption, Stopping the Squagon, Sacrifices, Necromancer's Doom, and then finally Misery's Peak. Then went over to Stormreach Harbor, where I'll be ready to start for next week. I reached level 3 right at the end of that, which I think is the first time that I was ever still level 2 when I was doing Misery's Peak. Because normally I'm level 3 by that time, but since this is my permadeath character and my rules limits on using the weekly the daily and weekly die rolls, I wasn't eligible to use the gold roll until after Misery's Peak was over, since I have special rules on when I'm allowed to, since the rewards for doing on-level quests and the like. So therefore, I managed to do Misery's Peak at level, which, as I said, I think it's the first time I've ever done it quite that way. And that is it. So, did you remember everything you did now?
I did. I found it. Luckily, there was a backup copy of the show notes. Let's see. We'll start with my Shander Kai, level 15 assassin. I went back into Wayloon Prison again, still working on the quest and the Slayers and everything in there. Slayer, I'm at 231 out of 7,500. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to finish that Slayer, because that's just insane. Rares, I'm only on 1 of 12. I cannot seem to find any of the rares in there. But of course, as you alluded to earlier, we all know how the RNG loves me, so I'm sure it's just my RNG bad luck not giving me the rares when I go into the instance. I found 14 of 24 of the Orphean's journals. Then that was pretty much all I did on the Shatterkai. I took my level 10 rogue, who is my pure rogue, which is going to stay a pure rogue. I decided a while ago, since I have all these other characters, I'm not going to multi-class this one. I'm just going to go straight rogue and see how that works out. I was doing some House of Deneath quest, and I finished the Sentinels of Stormreach story arc, which the last 2 quests I had to do were the Pit and the Tide Turns, and the Tide Turns is where I got the screenshot of the week from. That was where the moon and the ship was. It was inside of that instance. Also, took my little level 10 rogue out into the Red Fens. I've been out there before. I just decided to go do a couple more Slayers. 437 out of 7,500. 9 of 12 rares, 10 of 12 Explorer. I did the other quest that I was lacking out there, which is the Claw of Volacor, which actually you and I did the week previous. That's the one where you had a little problem with the jumping at the end.
Yeah.
So I finished that one up. So now that one unlocked the Into the Deeps for me. So I'm going to have to do that. And I told you when we were doing it together on my Ranger Rogue, I said, yeah, I'm not doing this by myself. You're going to have to run this again. So we're going to have to go back underwater again and do that quest because, yeah, there's no way I'm going to do that myself because it's just a crazy quest.
Right.
That was pretty much it for my Rogue. My Ranger Rogue is now at a level 9, almost level 10, which is the run I'm running with you, and you talked about we did Fathom the Depths and Into the Deeps. Then I have my Druid Rogue, who is level 6, which I haven't played a lot lately. My friend and his sons are now playing DDO, and they decided they wanted to play. So that was about a good level range. I think he's level, I think, 3 or 4, and I think so. I thought, hey, that's going to work out well. So we started doing the Catacombs quest art because they have never done that, actually. So we did the Friar's Niece and To Find a Witness, and we were going to do a couple more of them, but that's one of the days when the server was having some of the issues. And it started becoming so laggy, and then we were leaving we had just talked to him, and we had to go out and go down into the library to start doing that quest. And when we zoned out, we got stuck at the loading screen as we left. So the server was having problems that day, so we gave up. Well, then a couple days later, which I think was on Saturday, they decided they wanted to play again. This time they were on some lower level characters, so I pulled out my level 2 Rogue, which I have sitting on Korthos Island, just for that occasion, if there's anybody lower level that needs to do stuff. So we started running all of the Korthos Village quest. We did them on Elite. We did Hayton's Rest, the Cannith Crystal, the Stonehouse Secret, and the Collaborator. We didn't have very many problems at all because I know the last hotfix changed how champions spawned, and you don't get them as often anymore, which is what they said. We definitely found out that you do not get them because we only got one champion. And I know when my friend and I were doing stuff previously on hard, we weren't on Elite, we were just on hard. Every time we had a boss, it was a champion, plus we had other champions in there. So we ran into like 5 champions just inside of Hayton's Arrest. So now it's definitely fixed. We only had one, and we took them down pretty easy. Of course, we had 4 people, so 5 if you want to count the cleric hireling. But so that is pretty much what we did. So we're going to continue on there, and then I think we're going to go out on the island then too, because his boys haven't done many of the island quests yet. So we're all going to go out there. So it's kind of fun, especially playing with new players and kids that are really enjoying D&D and Dungeons & Dragons Online. So it's a fun time. So I was pretty busy this week, actually, for once. Usually you do more than I do.
Well, I was playing another game known as Don't Starve during most of the week.
Well, that would do it then. So you were not starving, and I was trying not to die.
I wish I wasn't starving. Despite the name, one does a lot of that. Or does silly things in trying to avoid not starving.
I see.
Yes. All right. Let's go into donations, or at least I would like to go into donations if we had any, but we don't. But if you would like to help support DDO players, simply go to the donations page where you can support the Players Alliance on Patreon. There you will find rewards, including a mention on DDO Players News, or even able to guest host with us. And we would like to have some feedback through iTunes. And if you'd like to be the first person to review us at iTunes, then please go there and give us a review. We would love your support. And we don't have any featured comments either. Looks like all the people giving comments were on vacation at the same time Turbine was. All right, so then let's go into emails. We did not receive any emails, but you can email us, and we will read them on the show at podcast@ddoplayers.com. And that's way, and you can also contact us by obviously emailing us at podcast@ddoplayers.com, but you can also follow us at Twitter, the Players Alliance at Players Ally, DDO Players at DDO Players, Draculetta at Draculetta_72, and Pineleaf at Pineleaf Needles. The Players Alliance shows go live 3 times a week at 8:30 p.m. United States Eastern Time. That's on Mondays, we have DDO Players News. On Thursdays, we have Guild Wars Players News. And on Saturdays, we have Lotro Players News. And you can join us for our live shows at ddoplayers.com/live. Thank you, everyone. That's it for tonight. And this is Pineleaf Needles reminding you to loot those treasure chests.